So I'm half Somali, half Nigerian, and I was brought up Christian because of my dad's side. My dad's Nigerian and my mom's Somali. I've always believed in God, however, I have never felt connected to Christianity, but I always knew that God existed. So what's crazy about this whole story is although that my dad was brought up Christian, and that's what I was as well, he ended up getting cancer 3 years before he passed away. And when he got cancer, he had a dream. Okay, let's take it back. My dad made a lot of mistakes in his life. He wronged a lot of people. He did a lot of bad. He then ended up getting cancer. The first time he got cancer, he had a dream when he was in the hospital bed, and Allah came to him in his dream and told him that Islam is the way, and he basically needs to change his ways if he wants to make it to the afterlife. So my dad reverted to Islam 3 years before he passed away, and in those last 3 years of my dad's life was the most at peace I've ever seen him, most kind, most gentle, most patient person ever. Sorry, I do not want to get emotional while I tell this story. So, I remember that my dad would, when I would be with him, hanging out with him, he would tell me bits and pieces about Islam, and I remember he had like an app on his phone which was for the call to prayer, and he took all of that so seriously, and it just made me really interested in the religion as well as what he was teaching me about the religion. Now, if I'm honest, I don't really remember much of what he was teaching me, but what stuck with me is how it changed him as a person in those last 3 years before the end of his life. Now, when my dad passed away, I do remember considering converting to Islam then. That was in 2013. We're in 2024 now. However, I went through a lot after my dad's passing, and I just felt like I can't just convert to a religion to, for someone else. It needs to be for me. So I didn't do it. I thought I really need to feel this. I really need to believe in this. I can't just do it for anyone else but myself, no matter how much I loved my dad. I remember when I joined TikTok, I think it was like 2021, and first of all, I've always been so different to other people. I think the more that you learn about me, the more you'll understand how I'm such a unique soul. I've got such a unique story, and I hope that one day I can share it with you guys. I remember when I joined TikTok, and when people found out that I was Christian, I got a lot of judgment for that. I received a lot of judgment because people didn't really understand me, and they didn't really understand why a Somali would be Christian. That bothered me because I just felt like if people understood my story, they wouldn't be so quick to judge. January 2023, my dad came to me in a dream. Now, that's 10 years after his passing. He's only come to me a few times in my dream. And I remember every single one of those dreams, so they're very special to me. Sometimes I wake up and I write it down. It's only been a handful of times. The first time actually was when he passed, and I didn't want to accept that he was gone. And he came to me in a dream and told me, like, don't worry, like, I'm still here, I'm not dead, I'm still alive. He looked happy, he looked healthy, he looked at peace, and that brought me peace. But back to the dream that I had in January 2023. My dad came to me in a dream, and this is when I kind of became interested in learning more about Islam. But I just felt like I didn't have anyone that could teach me, didn't have anyone around me that I felt comfortable going to. Yes, I had people around me that were Muslim, I just didn't feel comfortable going to them to ask. And this was not something that I'd ever spoken out loud about. It was just something I thought in my head a lot of the time, that I really wish my dad was here and he could teach me. So he comes to me in this dream, and he basically just let me know, like, he's super proud of me, like, keep doing what you're doing. And he told me, like, I said to him, Dad, I wish you were still here and you could teach me and show me the ways, and I really wish you were here and I could learn from you and you could teach me about Islam. And he said, don't worry about that. I loved you so much. I'm so proud of you. Take your time with it. Don't let anyone pressure you into doing anything. And I think that was honestly referring to like how I'd received a lot of comments on TikTok and judgment and stuff like that, you know. And like obviously my dad is someone, he knows my story, you know, he's my dad. So he's just saying like, I'm so proud of you, like don't let anyone pressure you into anything. If Islam is something you want to learn more about, take your time with it, learn the religion and fall in love with the religion. So I said, okay, cool, that's what I'm gonna do. That was all in the dream. So then January went past, and basically in 2023 I got closer to my flatmate's best friend, and I feel like she came into my life for a reason. She's just like, I could do a whole TikTok about why she's just so special. Like she helps reverts in her local mosque. Like she's the type of person that every revert should have a friend like her. Honestly, she teaches you things in like the most non-judgmental way, super understanding, super like, she's just amazing. We would spend hours talking on the balcony about Islam. Hours would go past. I'm talking 4 or 5 hours, guys, and I would not be bored. Whereas when I would be in a church, I could not stay interested for an hour. My mind would be elsewhere. Whereas the more I learned about Islam is the more I wanted to know. To the point that it brought me to tears so many times just learning about Islam. And honestly, like feeling the presence of Allah, like every time I was learning more and more about Islam, like I felt his presence. And it just felt like this was the right journey for me to be embarking on. So I always remembered my dad's dream, and I took that into consideration with my actions moving forward, and I just took my time to learn the religion and understand it, because I knew that no one could pressure me into doing anything, no matter how many people on TikTok would, you know, insult me, bully me, harass me, because, you know, I was not born Muslim. No one could ever make me do anything I wanted to do. It would only ever come from me. And I think that's why that dream was so important. And I think that's why my dad came in my life, in my dream at that point, to tell me that. So I took my Shahada in November of 2023. It's something I was contemplating taking about 3 months before that. I was just putting it off, because I thought, I'm not perfect, I'm nowhere close. Like, what if I take it and then I'm just going to fall off? And, you know, that's mainly what it was, because I knew as soon as I take it, I'm actually going to have to try and take steps in the right direction, because now you don't want to just do bad when you know it's bad, you know? So I was scared to make mistakes, and that's what I was putting off. However, I had a lot of things going on in my life at the time. Like, I was no longer working in my last job, and my accommodation, I could no longer stay in my apartment, and so many things were going on in my life at that time. I didn't even know, where am I even going to be living? Am I going to stay in London? Am I going to go to my mom's? All of these things, life was just chaotic basically. And I had a lot of anxiety about the next steps in my life. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen when it gets to January? Like, I was scared of like, where will my life be? So before I moved out of my apartment, I knew that I needed to take my Shahada before I embark on the next chapter of my life. It was so important to me that I did it before I left, because for some reason I just felt like my life was going to fall into place after that. And I also ended up getting the job that I was praying for so long. And since then, life has just been so much better, so much clarity in my life. And I had no stress and anxiety about what was coming next, because I thought, instead of moving from a place of fear, I'm going to have faith and I'm going to leave everything up to God. And it's coming to 10 minutes now. I might have to do a part 2.